Welcome back to The Way to Wellness, where we are finding balance season by season. I am Selina Uglow, the founder of The Way to Healthy Living, and I welcome you into this space today in this limited podcast series to take all of the information we've already given you about sitting with yourself and discovering the why behind what you do and don't do, and the true reason for your desires and what you hope to achieve for yourself this year. And today is a super essential part of that journey because I hope to impart on you the thought about renewing your spirit for wellness. In this day-to-day, media-driven, Instagram-connected, reels upon reels, fitness gurus, highly, visible influencers, we have so much doubt in ourselves that I am going to ask you to come in with me today and let's talk about our own spirit of wellness and what does it mean. So today, what I'm going to share with you is something that I love to call the bread and butter of wellness. It is a personal mantra strategy that I developed years ago when I was 248 pounds. I had a lot of advice to live off of, and I was getting none of it done. And it's really, really important to just say that again. I had a lot of advice to live off of, and I was getting none of it done. And the reason for that is exactly why we're here together today, my friend. And that is because everyone tells us what to do and what we need to do, but no one comes in and says, okay, here's how it fits in your life. And we all can't imagine how change fits in a life that is continuously moving day after day, dynamically and not statically, and without any moments to breathe. Can we all agree? So the bread and butter of wellness is much like the basis of all things that we do. It's building your toolbox. So I want you to take some time today and I want you to think about your skills and the things that I share with you that are just small shifts, small things to think about day to day, and only take what is necessary. But go ahead and download our bread and butter mantra and take your notes as we proceed through today's podcast. It'll be fabulous. So the bread and butter of wellness, if you look up bread and butter in the thesaurus, it is the basis of all things, right? If you think about it, what is the bread and butter of your life? Some may say money, some may say family, some may say our success or our careers or our purpose. It's the very basis of where we are. So as we build our toolbox today together, sorry about that, as we build our toolbox today, I want you to think about creating the best base moving forward. And we're going to break it down between balance, rest, exercise, attitude, and diet. That's the bread part, right? The butter part is how we're going to apply it in our everyday lives. So let's talk first about the mantra itself. B for balance, but balance for me isn't about getting everything done. And it really shouldn't be that way for you either. It should really look a little bit like, in an ideal circumstance, how does my life look like when it's in balance? A lot of people will say to me, well, Selina's getting everything done. Well, no, it's not. It's actually knowing that you could exhaust yourself every day for the next 5 days, and on the 6th day, wake up with just as much work as you had to do today. We can't deny that. So we have to start stepping away from this overly driven society and say, what does balance feel like for me? My example to you of that is that I have a little space in my day for myself and reflection, that I touch base with at least one of my family members in the day, and that when I close my day, I feel confident that I've handled everything that I prioritized in the day. Notice I didn't say needed to, because again, day 6, lots of needs, still there. You gave all your effort and you're still in the same place. And that's okay. That's kind of what the beauty of life is that there are so many opportunities and so many things that we can experience. And quite frankly, a large demand on our skill set is something to be grateful for. Balance is all about feeling peaceful at the end of your day and what we need to do to get there so that we can then rest. A lot of people struggle with rest. And a lot of people say, well, if I don't get 6 or 7 hours a day, then I'm not rested. And the world will tell you that 8 hours a day of rest is essential. What I will say to you is the most important part of your rest is how you wake up in the morning and whether or not you feel energized, whether or not you have to take a sleep aid to go to sleep that doesn't wear off until 10 o'clock, that then influences your productivity, that then impacts your ability to feel like you've achieved anything, and then returns that cycle. Rest is about the quality of sleep, but it's also about the environment that you sleep in. It energizes you enough to get then exercise, movement. We've all heard it. Sitting is the new smoking, right? And when we think about our back pain and our lower legs aching, and a lot of women in midlife telling me that they're getting fluid buildup in their legs, a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're just not moving. We are a very sedentary society, and we are being innovated daily out of our movement patterns that keep our body functioning. In fact, arthritis is really a side effect of dysfunctional movement and stiff muscles that then results in bony growths at your joint spaces that then rub on your nerves and causes pain. But nobody knows that. They just think arthritis is a diagnosis that comes with age. When in actuality, it is a result of dysfunctional movement patterns over the years and perhaps repetitive movement patterns, depending on our jobs, that we don't stretch and open up ourselves through. The most important thing I would like to just kind of leave you with out of today's podcast is that exercise is everything that we do in life, from brushing our teeth to sitting on the toilet to walking to our car to letting our dog outside. In fact, just sitting here talking to you right now, my muscles are holding my bones in place and I'm getting some exercise. When we can take ourselves away from the concept that exercise is a 30 to 60 minute dedicated piece that we go to the gym for, and we look at our life and everything we do, from picking up a cup to taking a walk as exercise, we start to put more intention into it, and it enhances what we do in every moment instead of looking for those little pieces and slivers of time we never seem to get to. The final is D, diet. That's a big word. Let's sum it up. Diet is anything and everything that you eat, period. There are no special diets for weight loss. There are no special diets for reducing pain, magic fixes. Are there foods that encourage inflammatory processes? Yes, like sugars and fatty fried foods, but it has more to do with what they do to your metabolic system than it actually does their individual components. That's why fruits aren't bad. That's why you can't look at a tomato and say, you should never eat a tomato again because it's bad for you. Because you are an individual, and the only way to really figure out what applies best for you is to actually commit to paying attention to yourself instead of all the noise that we're getting. If I could give you one great tool, if we met in person, I would hand you a pair of earplugs and say, stop listening and start hearing yourself. That would be fantastic, right? So balance, rest, exercise, attitude, and diet. The major part of, if you want to be a healthy, well-rounded individual who manages life the way you want to manage life, those 5 areas are absolutely key. and creating your own mantra, your reminder system on how to stay in that lane. You know, there's so much talk about staying in your lane. Find your niche if you want to be successful. Who's your demographic? Who are you talking to and what are you doing? It's the same thing that you need to do for yourself. You're your best business. You're your best project. You're your biggest success. Let's start investing. And then when we look at spreading the butter, right? So bread and butter, like I said, a mantra. What are some of the things that you need to do for you? Well, for me, quite honestly, never say never. That's the N. So bread and butter. Never say never. I learned something incredible about myself the other day. I went to the gym with my husband. It's an activity that we do together. If we're being honest, this girl doesn't really like fitness and she doesn't need any more fitness in her life because she's a fitness instructor. But hey, it's all about making the hubby happy. I think it's important to recognize what our spouses need. So we're at the gym and my husband and I are standing at the tricep machine and he loads on his weight and he is in charge. And I'm going to do what he's going to do. And he loads on his weight and he does his 12 tricep pull downs. And so I automatically assume, in comparison, that I personally cannot do the weight that he has just done. So I walk over to the machine and I pull out the little pin and I move it down a couple notches to where I feel like my weight is, which is actually 30 pounds less because he's 6'2" and an athlete. And I grab that bar and I pull down, and much to my surprise, it's light as a feather. It doesn't even feel like I'm lifting anything. So I think for a second and I go, my gosh, I just said to myself that I would never be able to lift the weight that he was lifting. And I thought, how self-limiting are we in comparison? We look at other people and we think, oh gosh, that is so awesome that that person did that or that person has this life. I would never have that. And think about the large amount of limitation that that puts on you. So never say never. That's part of my mantra. That's part of how I get the base of what I do every day to become the reality of where I want to be now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, right? Is I never say never. The number one piece of my mantra in butter is be compassionate. And that's not just with myself. That's with everything. We live in a very reactive society where we don't recognize that the undertone of anger and resentment breeds inflammation, affects the way that we eat, affects the way that we sleep, affects the way that we invite other people into our space, and ultimately either becomes the biggest growth or the largest limiting factor in our life. So part of what I do every day is to remind myself to be compassionate. Before I found out I had cancer at age 29, I had a 5'2" abusive husband. I have been forced through a door the opposite way, carrying what is my youngest child. I have seen and heard things throughout my growing life that could break me. 100% could be a limiting factor. And quite honestly, by statistics, I should be on drugs with multiple children and on welfare. That's what most professionals would tell you my future was. And I'll tell you why I'm here. That man in my life, that my ex-husband, he is probably the most positive influence to who I am today. And I am grateful for him. I am not grateful for the experiences that we had necessarily. In fact, I would say that if I could go back, I would not do most of them again. I can't undo where I was. And I certainly can't carry forward the trauma, the anger, and the hate, because that becomes a limiting factor for who I am. So I offer compassion. I try to understand who he was at the moment and maybe how some of my personalities and his personalities didn't meld well. I don't excuse what he did, because there is no excuse for bad behavior, but I also don't have to live in it. And in order to not live in it, I have to apply that compassion to that time of my life. The same goes for any time where I've done things that I don't necessarily carry forward with great pride. There are a lot of things that I did growing up, and some of the examples that I was given, that truly probably led to some bad decisions on my part. You have to apply compassion. And before you react every day, you have to step back and, instead of personalizing the interactions, put some compassion in there and try to place yourself into that person or that circumstance that brought you to what could be either a growth point or a sticky point. That's why being compassionate is number one, and why I talk about it so much. It brings me to the you. The bread and butter, the you, is always understanding all of the perspectives before I take my position. I think that in a polarized perspective, meaning that I can only achieve it from where I want it to be, limits us from seeing things outside of our own realms and perhaps finding a better way. When my clients come to me as a coach, especially in the weight loss realm, I always grin, like kind of come up and get all grinched up when they say, you're gonna be so disappointed. Because that's their perspective of what my thoughts are. But then they tell me I learned about myself, and I really do like intermittent fasting for my body, not something I promote regularly. And then I say to them, that's awesome. I'm glad that you stepped out of what I told you. What really is the base of most of the client success that I have is 98% is they eat structured diet. And you actually took the courageous step to listen to your own body. Because I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to educate you on the things you need to pay attention to. And then ultimately, you'll get to what you need to do. But if we aren't open to listening to all of the different things that come at us only from an educational perspective rather than a directive, understanding that those ideas are rooted in their experiences, then we're stuck. And that doesn't help us get there. That's part of the toolbox. Getting yourself off of the sticky mousetrap and into a world where you can be fluid. That brings you to the priority of being able to take a time out for yourself. When things in life become overwhelming, when the information is too much, you are your own administrator. And if you don't take administrative time to figure it out, if you don't take time for yourself, disconnecting from the world and just being with yourself for just a hot second to figure it out, then you're in reactive mode. And you go from reaction to regret to reaction to regret without much progress. And remember, the way to healthy living is all about consistent practice. Consistently taking time for yourself, make sure you're on the right track and you're staying in that lane. It's really important. Taking time to go outside for a walk allows that break from the world, from the chaos, and also taking the time that you need even to answer questions. So like when you have that friend who's constantly asking you for things, but you're finding yourself out of balance with your time, simply taking a breath before you answer them is taking time for yourself to get their thoughts out of your head and your thoughts into your head and be able to answer and respond. I love when I talk at corporate events because I tell all their employees. So it's hugely fun. Don't tell anybody. But the company encourages me to come in and talk to their employees about embracing change. And then in the room, I tell them, so when your boss comes to you and says, hey, I need you to do more stuff, I encourage their employees to say, okay, well, I get that. But here's what I have to do right here on this list of paper. Can you tell me where I prioritize what you're asking me to do in addition to? And the thing is that when I say that to people, they're like, oh, wow, you probably shouldn't say that. But the world is all living in their own bubble. And when people ask more of us, they do that as a compliment to us. So sometimes when we get into that resentment mode or we get a little bit frustrated, we forget that that's our ability to set a solid boundary. I value that you think I have the ability, but you've already given me a lot to do. Or you've already asked a lot of my time. So where do I prioritize this ask? That isn't negative. That is simply asking them to communicate their expectations clearly. Being mindful. So when we talk about butter, the E part is eating. Eating is not just fueling. It's also something that we need to do in a mindful space so that our body can get what it needs. So I have to remind myself not to eat on the run, not to eat behind the steering wheel of the car, and not to eat in front of the TV. So in my bread and butter mantra, E is eating mindfully. I don't always do it. Maybe about 80-20. Sometimes I skip meals. But I need that reminder for myself because then my body does what it needs to do. And given the workload that I carry, it's important. So rest and digest is my final one. When I look at having a mantra as a reminder for myself, it is all about really getting in what I need. And if I don't plan for periods of time where I can rest my body and digest not just food that I'm taking in, but all that I'm taking in. I spend every day listening to podcasts and reading wellness stuff and researching lifestyle medicine and reading PubMed documents related to health. But if I don't take a minute to step back from everything that's coming at me and apply it to reason, it's just a bunch of mental space wasted. And so the end of my bread and butter mantra is just a reminder, rest and digest. Take it all in, but take some time to add a little rest and then take some time to digest it. All the feedback we get in today's world needs our ability to sit with it and digest it. Even the news media. Think about it. We hear a very negative news story and right away we're headed off to the world of anxiety and doom and gloom and drama. But you know what? When we sit back here and we wait a minute, let's just digest that for a minute. Let's put that into perspective and then ask ourselves where it belongs in our energy space. That's a huge shift in our ability to manage what it does to us. So that's a reason why that's in my list. So again, just to cover it, the 5 components: balance, rest, exercise, attitude, and diet. I want to cover those a little bit more in detail. Let's go to balance. It isn't getting everything done. It's about having a strategy to bring you peace. What does that strategy look like for you? Is it owning the energy that you're even bringing into the day or the interaction? You know, sometimes When I'm feeling overwhelmed and I haven't practiced good self-care, I get up in the morning and I'm heading into maybe what is probably one of my most intensive clients, and I'm coming in with a little bit of attitude. What is she going to ask me now? And she's not doing anything. And I bring that energy in, right? And you know what? Because I bring that energy in, I get that energy. We can make it a lot about everybody else, but we're going to make it better when we start focusing on ourselves. So I own the energy that I'm bringing into the room. When you come into my bathroom, which is like my space, all the ideas come from the shower. You'll see on our Facebook page that I have a whiteboard next to my shower. So when I'm in the shower and an idea pops out, I can just come out of the shower curtain and write it on the whiteboard so I don't forget it. It's much better than filming yourself in the shower with your cell phone. Not recommended. The other thing is that I surround my space with signs that I need. She believes she could, so she did. I go and get my nails colored in bright colors, or I wear jewelry that is reflective of my mission, or even jewelry that's inspirational, because I need to be the inspiration to myself as much as everybody else. And sometimes those little bitty pieces provide me with the balance to my own attitude when I've lost my way a little bit, because we all do. We're human. It's okay. I also encourage people to take a step back from circumstances where they're weighing down with worry, or they're taking on additional emotional energies, and ask themselves, is this mine to carry? That's an essential question. Is this mine to carry? Sometimes we can add additional stress and take space energetically or even physically for other people or other things that aren't really ours to carry. And we're kind of not enabling, we're disabling other people, and we're taking on more than we can actually handle. And that puts us out of balance. So it's really essential to think about that. How do we get there? You're like, Selina, you sound so good, but you just don't know my life. And you're right, I don't. But I promise you, if you do these next 3 things, you're going to get better balance. So get a pen. 1, start the day with 10 minutes. That's all you need. It's less than 1% of your day. Don't be connected to your phone. Look at your calendar, the tasks for the day. Maybe you want to add a read in. I have 3 inspirational reads I do every day. It takes me about 5 minutes. I write in a gratitude journal. I read from Simple Abundance of Everyday Living, and I read from Jesus Calling. Those are my things. Don't have to be your things. Take that 10 minutes and decide the course of your day. Find the spots where you're being overwhelmed. Reorganize your day where you need to so you can be the best that you can be, and make the determination of what the close of your day is going to look like. That's number 1. Number 2, in order to get better balance, you have to start to learn to celebrate what you've done. We all have a laundry list of to-dos. Again, day 6 is just as busy as day 1, and all the efforts that you did day 1 through 5, they don't do anything to lessen what day 6 offers us. So at the end of every day, I would love for you to start to make a to-done list. I want you to take some time at the end of your day and debrief, and make a list of 1 to 5 things that you have actually achieved, and celebrate them. Some days you might have put the same socks on. Other days you might have conquered an entire department worth of problems. They are both noteworthy, and that is important. And number 3, the things that you really want to have happen in your life, Stop asking yourself to find a way to fit it in. Let's just get it in. So that same gym experience that I told you about with my husband, where I realized that I could pull down the same weight that he did, and I actually followed him without changing any of the weights, recognizing that I could do far more than I thought I could. That all started with not saying never. So stop telling yourself that you're never going to get that movement in because you're too busy. When you go to the bathroom, and this is how I went from 248 pounds to where I am now, before I sat down on the toilet, I did 5 sit-to-stands. Now, if you really have to go very badly, don't do that before, wait until after. I also did 5 push-ups off of the sink. Funny story. In my workplace, I was doing those push-ups when I was my heaviest, and the sink kind of shifted a little bit. So I kind of recommend that you find a stable service. However, those 5 sit-to-stands and those 5 push-ups, they eventually got me to where I was paying more attention to my breakfast, which, by the way, was Reese's yogurt before it was ever Greek yogurt, because who actually wanted to eat Greek yogurt when they were eating McDonald's every day in their lives? No one, because their taste buds don't want that crap. So it was Reese's yogurt, 5 sit-to-stands when I went to the bathroom, everybody's got to pee, and 5 push-ups off the sink. Nobody's looking for you in that little bit of time. That's how you get it in. And then more and more, and gradually, you get stronger. You find more things and more time to do. Stop making the excuses for yourself. That brings me to number 2, rest. How do I get more rest? I mean, I'm up all night long and I'm thinking about all these things I have to do, and you don't know what my life's like. My life is so stressful. I can't pay my bills. My marriage is falling apart. I'm fat. I don't like the way I look. My kids are stressing me out. There are 100 things that keep me awake at night. My hot flashes. I get it. We're all there with you. However, there are a few things that we do that don't help our rest. Screen scrolling is probably the worst thing that you can do in the evening. There are a few reasons why. 1, the blue light wakes you up and gets your mind ready for something. 2, you're conditioning your brain to say that you cannot go to sleep without looking at a blue light that wakes you up and gets you ready for something, because that's the habit. Everyone uses screen scrolling now to decompress. I don't discount the benefit, but I would tell you that a good principle to practice is to give your 30 minutes before you're ready to go into your bed and not look at a blue screen. Okay? Maybe that's your to-done list time. Maybe that's your gratitude journal time. Maybe that's reading time. A free app called Healthy Minds is great also for that. And you can just turn it on and listen to a meditation, but don't look at the screen. That doesn't help your melatonin stores come into play and put you to sleep. Next to my bed, I have a notebook and a pen and a little soft click light. If you wake up through the middle of the night with hot flashes or to go to the bathroom and you can't get back to sleep after 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you, screw it, get up. Turn over, write down on the notebook anything that you're thinking about or the things that you feel like you're thinking about that you need to get done tomorrow. You might actually have to write the statement, what can you do about it at 3 a.m.? Because I know you can't call your boss. Write it down. If it's a task that you wanted to get done and it's in your home and you're not to sleep after 15 or 20 minutes, just get up and get the task done. And then do some 4, 7, and 8 breathing. We're going to be talking about that in the next podcast. And then come back to bed, turn back on the meditation app or the white noise machine and do some breathing. If it's on your brain so much so that you can't go back to sleep after 15 or 20 minutes, you need to take care of that. Otherwise, you're just tossing and turning for the rest of the night and you're waking up exhausted. This is where I love pets. If you can't do the activity that you need to do, the simple act of petting your cat or petting your dog or rubbing your thumb and your forefinger together reduces that brain sympathetic response. I also love tapping. Those are some things you can do to bring yourself down. And let me tell you, particularly for the ladies, pay attention to your bed space. It's like a really good bra. You know what I'm talking about? The guys probably can't resonate with this, but I would say a nice shirt. So if we're talking guys, I'm going to say, you put on that good shirt, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, dang, I love how I look in this. I feel good. Well, for ladies, we put on a good bra. It's holding us just right. We feel very confident in our clothes. It's a great thing. The bedroom space works the same. And yet here's what we all do with our bedroom space. We put every single thing that we don't want any of our company to see into our bedroom because it's the only place we can hide everything. And then we want to rest there. Think about that. That's like going to a cluttered work desk space and finding some room to write on some paper. Do a little bit work in your bed space. Buy a comforter that feels good when you see it. Invest in pillows you want to lay your head on. And whatever you do, do not put the treadmill in the bedroom that is going to become the clothes rack for all the things that you have to fold, wash, or take care of. Your bedroom space should be your sanctuary. It should welcome you into the room, not be another area of work. That does influence your sleep. And it's a big, important part to how rested you feel. When it comes to exercise, we talked a little bit about those push-ups. And we talked about the toilet. But let's also talk about the recliner chair. When you meld into your chair and you feel your shoulders curl forward and your butt kind of tuck up underneath you and you lift and elevate your feet, you are in complete mush mode. And if you stay there for any length of time to watch TV, you're not doing yourself any favors. And your muscles are all about protecting your skeletal system from that nasty thing called arthritis. So when it comes to life being exercise, it's not just about getting that movement in the bathroom or taking that 10-minute walk because exercise is cumulative. It's also about thinking about how you are functionally in your rest spaces. I love using the dining room table as an example, and I want you to just visualize with me, if you will, for a moment. And you're sitting on your chair and you're tucked into the back of it and it's cradling you. What if you pulled your shoulders up and slid your bottom forward so you were kind of just hovering at the edge of the seat with your feet planted firmly under your knees? In fact, I want you to do that right now with me. Come out of that comfortable office chair, come to the edge of the seat, sit up a little taller, pull your belly in, and take a good breath in down to your bottom and out through your mouth. You feel your muscles? So just sitting up straight for 10 seconds. If you set an alarm for 10 seconds and you sat up straight and you took a deep breath in and you exhaled, here's one for you guys. We just elevated your testosterone level. When you sit slumped over, you actually decrease your testosterone level. If you carry extra weight, you decrease your testosterone level. So the act of simply just standing up a little bit straighter in your chair and breathing down into the belly of your bottom and exhaling through your mouth means you've used your core muscles, your pec muscles, your intercostal muscles, and you're strengthening your core. Doing that for 10 seconds and then adding time, getting to 60 seconds is as effective as doing the bridge exercise, which most of you have had to do when you've gone to physical therapy for back problems or a pelvic malalignment. Isn't that cool? That's how you get it in. That's what I'm all about. Like, let's stop complicating the world of getting better and just start getting better. What you do every day matters. I used to work with a young lady, her name was Jenna, and I loved her. And she said, the only exercise I ever want to do is go and take a nap. And I said, well, that's a cool thing. So if you lay on your side when you take a nap and you put a pillow between your knees and your ankles and you have your head so that it's here instead of here or here, you are actually exercising your muscles while you take a nap. So please do take a nap because you're also getting a rest and you're also allowing yourself time to digest. Bonus win. You're getting it in. When we look at it that way, then our attitude shifts a little bit from feeling overwhelmed and unable to accomplish things to adding to that to-done list. And you know what? If you listen to at least half of what I'm saying, that to-done list is going to get longer every day. Because by now, you've set healthy boundaries and created a better balance for yourself. So great job. Take a nap. You're getting it all in. You're getting the balance that you needed so that you can have a good, healthy mind to create boundaries. You're getting the rest that your body needed, and it's doing it in a fashion that's supporting you. And you're getting ready for the exercise that you're going to do because you're going to take my tips and get it in. And you're also affecting your attitude. Attitude is a huge part of health and wellness. When I was 29 years old and diagnosed with colon cancer, I asked the surgeon, tell me what I have to do to see my kids get to their milestones, graduations, weddings, grandchildren. And he looked at me when I was 29. My oldest was 10, my youngest was 2. And he said, go home and plan for 5 good years. Well, I made a decision in that moment. Attitude was going to be my strength hold for survival. And so in order to survive, when I went to the Erie Regional Cancer Center and they wanted me to go into a room and listen to all the videotapes of all the statistics about colon cancer, I told them, no, thank you. You will not dictate what my outcome is. And here I am, way past my expiration date and acting a whole lot like it. Just ask anyone who knows me. And that's because I have well earned it. Our minds are powerful things. They can actually keep us heavy by saying to ourselves day in and day out that I can't lose this weight. Your body is going to listen. I know a woman who got cancer 3 times, and she attributes it to the fact that every time she received a diagnosis of free and clear, every day's prayer was, please don't let me get cancer. And you know what? Her body only heard the word cancer and it answered. Our attitude is everything. What you think and what you think you can't becomes. But you know where it starts? It starts with our words. So here's the greatest tip I will tell you about influencing your attitude. If you are a negative Nelly and your glass is only half full, I don't want that to be different. It's worked for you until this point. Part of who you are should be celebrated because part of that has gotten you where you are. However, if you're finding it's not working for you anymore, or you're stuck in a pattern of not being able to see through your goals, then here's a few things I'd like you to do. Start with your language. When you say, I can't, it is extremely self-limiting. Much like me saying I can't lift with my husband what he lifts because I'm not that strong. Well, I taught myself a lesson that day. So think about your wording. Close your eyes right now and listen to me. I can't do that. Versus I choose not to do that. Which is more empowering? Oh, it's Monday morning. Mondays are horrible. Hey, it's Monday morning. Mon is actually my for French, so Mondays are actually my day to make anything I want out of it. Now, I'm not asking you to be the eternal optimist here. I'm just asking you to check your words because that's what's becoming your attitude. I have a great saying, where your thoughts go, your energy flows, and your reality becomes. Remember about owning our energy and the balance piece? What you bring in is what you get out. So think about words like can't, don't, versus choose not to. It's a huge shift in the attitude. And sometimes when we have people in our space that deplete our energies, here's a really crazy tip for you. I had a client a long time ago and he said, Selina, my brother calls me and oh my gosh, when I talk to him, I can't be positive when I'm done talking to him. And I said, okay, Jim, the next time he calls, I want you to find the highest point in the room and I want you to look at it. And he said, what's that going to do? And I said, well, let's think about nature. When we come into an energy that draws from us or that we don't necessarily feel confident up against, we drop our chin. And in dropping our chin, we actually allow the reserve of our energy to leave ourselves. So I said, do me a favor. I want you to keep your chin up high and I want you to watch a high point like a clock and talk to your brother. And when you get off the phone, check in with how you feel. And he called me and he goes, you're not going to believe it. It actually worked. I felt good after I talked to him. I said, there was one shift in what you did to preserve your attitude and keep it from being depleted by other people. Isn't that a fantastic, simple little way to preserve your energy in a world of other people? Because even though we wake up feeling like we can be totally positive all day long, we are influenced by others. But our head posturing and our chin posturing up above and higher when we're around those depleters, as well as the question of what do you want me to do with that information when everybody around us is complaining, so we can choose not to carry their weight. Those are key pieces to reserving your energy and also keeping your attitude in a frame that supports your success. And then it doesn't influence what you eat. So going to the diet piece, let's not bring attitude into that. Let's not bring the noise and chaos of decades of wrong advice. Because let me just say, restrictive eating and food categorizing hasn't done squat for the health of our country in 20 years. But I will tell you that in the last 13, it has made sustainable weight loss and better lab values than even physicians can believe. When I teach my clients to apply, diet is everything that goes into your mouth as long as you know why it's passing through your lips. Now, breaking down into diet, what should you eat, what's right for you, that's a personal one-on-one. But I'm going to repeat the most important part of your diet. It is everything that goes into your mouth, understanding why it's going through your lips. And if you want the simple way to change how you fuel and be mindful in your eating, just ask yourself every time you make a choice, what have I eaten today? What am I going to eat today? And what is my best choice now based on balance? Because it's all about balance. And that's what we're doing in this podcast series. We are teaching you to empower your steps in creating better balance. All through education and ideas and concepts that can be applied no matter where you are in your life or how busy you are. And that's the most important part of finding your way to wellness. Getting little pearls that you can apply in your own day-to-day struggles with consistency. The 80-20 rule wins. And I thank you so much for your time with me today, because it has been an incredible space to share. I wish you well on your journey.